The cosine function is exactly like the sine function, except we either start at 1 or negative 1. Let's do some review, I guess. Okay, the parent function of cosine is y equals a cosine of b theta, where a and b are what? That's right, 1. Okay, again, the parent function starts at positive 1, goes to pi over 4, goes to pi, minimum's at pi, goes to 0 at 3 pi over 4, and ends up at 2 pi max. Okay. Your language. Okay, the distance from the midline, that's our amplitude. And the time it takes to complete one pattern is our period. Sit down. We learned a couple of formulas yesterday. If we have an algebraic way to find amplitude is the absolute value, and that should be little a. And then the period is 2 pi over b. By the way, if I was looking for b, what's the formula? Okay, so the period over 1 equals 2 pi over b. So what does b equal? Just switch the 2, right? 2 pi over the period. Okay, for those people who are going on in mathematics, you need to know that. All right, let's do a couple of reviews. What is the period of each cosine function? Period equals 2 pi over b. Okay, what's my b in this problem? 1/4. 2 pi over 1/4, which equals flip the fraction multiplied 8 pi. Guys, knock it off. That's enough. 1b period equals 2 pi over b. My b is 2, so this equals pi. Amplitude is the absolute value of little a. Which is the absolute value of 3, which is 3. And b, what's my amplitude? 3a. Find the amplitude and period. Amplitudes are easy. Okay, the periods. I'll put it back up. I hate you guys. Period 2 pi over b. My b is 1/3. pi. My b is 1. Write a cosine function. We didn't do these yesterday. We could do them today. Write a cosine function when the amplitude is 5. So that's my A. The period equals 1 over 2 pi. Okay, so we have to find B. We know what the period is. Let's use that. Let's use that new thing that I showed you, where B equals 2 pi over the period. So B equals 2 pi, and what's the period? That's right, 1 over 2 pi. Ooh, I don't like this. It comes out squared. It's got to be 4 pi squared. I don't like this. This is a typo. This should be 2 pi over 1. Let's not do 4. Okay, let's not do that. Sure. All right, let's graph cosine. What's the period? That's right, 2 pi over 2, which is pi. What's half a pi? That's right, 2 pi over 2. What's half a pi over 2? It's going up in quarters, right? Yeah. Okay, 1 quarter, 2 quarters. What's this?
Okay, so
yes, has to have 4 numbers on the x-axis. Actually, you're supposed to do 2 cycles, which would be 8 numbers, but that's way too advanced. For this problem, yes. Well, yeah, they're going by quarters. It's easier to do half of this. Okay, that's 1/2 times pi. Half of a half is a quarter. Okay, pi over 2 times 1/2 is pi over 4. So you know you're going up by quarters. 1 quarter, 1/2, that has to be 3 quarters. Okay. All right, amplitude. The absolute value of little a, which is 3. Now, cosine. Again, it's the only difference between cosine and sine is that it starts at the max or min. Okay, remember the sine always started at 0. All right, so let's see, our little a, in fact, this should be greater than or equal to 1. Our little a is -3. -3 is less than 1, so we start at the min. We're going to go to 0. Then we're going to go to max. Then we're going to go to 0. Then we're going to go to min. This is the cosine function. You guys happy? Cosine function. Let's do some of your practice problems. Let's look at number 1. Here's my x-axis. Y-axis, let's see, we need 1 cycle. Actually, it gives us interval between 0 and 2 pi. There's 0. There's 2 pi. Okay, you know what? Let's just do what we've been doing. Let's find the amplitude and the period, okay? Amplitude. When we have a graph, how do we find the amplitude? One half max minus min, right? Okay, our max, positive 1, min is negative 1. That's going to equal positive 1 minus negative 1. 2, half of 2 is 1. So amplitude is 1. And how do we find the period of a function, of a trig function when we have a graph? Just count it. Yeah, I know. 4. So the period equals 4. That's when you have a graph. When you have an algebraic, you have to do 2 pi over b when the absolute value of a to find amplitude and period. In fact, let's do it. Let's do number 6. First thing, let's find the period. 2 pi over b. What's my b? Don't forget, there's a 1 in front of theta, right? So what's the coefficient of theta here? 1/2, right? So 2 pi divided by 1/2, which is, flip it, 4 pi. So my period's going to be 4 pi. What's half of 4 pi? And half of 2? 1 pi. So 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. What's my amplitude? What's the coefficient of the cosine? 1. Okay, my little a is equal to 1, so I'm going to use the top one. Max, 0, min, 0, max. Max, 0, min, 0, max. And let's do number 9. Okay, I need the period equals 2 pi over b. What's my b? 1/3, right? My period is 6 pi. What's half of 6 pi? What's half of 3? So it's going up by 1.5. 1.5, 3, 4.5. Okay, what's my amplitude? Negative 1. So I need the absolute value of negative 1, which is 1. 1, negative 1. My little a is less than 1. So I'm going to start at min, go to 0, max, 0, min. Min, 0, max, 0, min. Do what? See how my little a here is negative 1? Yeah, when it's below 1, you use this one. Start at min. Questions, comments, concerns? Wonderful. Go ahead, finish the worksheet.